March 13, 1954. French forces at Dien Bien Phu prepared for what they believed would be a controlled engagement against an inferior enemy. The valley was fortified with artillery airfields and entrenched positions. French commanders believed the Viet Minh would be forced into open battle and destroyed. The plan reflected confidence built on doctrine and experience. French forces relied on firepower mobility and air resupply. Previous engagements suggested the enemy could not sustain prolonged conventional fighting. What was misunderstood was that the war had already shifted beyond those assumptions. The battle was not about holding ground. It was about whether the system behind that ground could endure. French confidence at Dien Bien Phu was grounded in structure and precedent. The garrison was supplied by air and supported by heavy artillery. Commanders believed control of the valley ensured operational dominance. This logic was consistent with French military tradition. Fixed positions supported by firepower had worked before. Air transport was expected to neutralize distance and terrain. The Viet Minh were viewed as lightly equipped guerrillas. Their ability to move heavy weapons through jungle and mountains was underestimated. The system assumed the enemy would fight on French terms. That assumption defined every decision. And it was wrong. The battlefield reality quickly diverged from expectations. Viet Minh forces surrounded the valley and began systematic artillery bombardment. Their guns were concealed and protected against counterfire. Airfields were damaged and then rendered unusable. French resupply depended entirely on aircraft. Once the skies were contested, the system began to fail. Trenches crept closer each night. Positions were isolated and reduced one by one. The battle became a siege rather than a set-piece engagement. French firepower remained formidable, but it could not reverse encirclement. The system was losing coherence. The Viet Minh did not rely on speed or surprise. They relied on endurance coordination and replacement. Losses were absorbed and units rotated. Chinese and Soviet support strengthened their capacity. Logistics networks extended across difficult terrain. The system expanded while the French system contracted. French commanders requested reinforcements and air support. Weather and enemy fire limited delivery. Each delay increased pressure on the garrison. The fight was no longer tactical. It was mathematical, and the numbers favored the besiegers. By late April, French positions were fragmented. Ammunition dwindled, and medical facilities were overwhelmed. Morale collapsed alongside logistics. Command authority weakened as communication failed. Units fought in isolation without coordination. The system that sustained resistance no longer functioned. On May 7, 1954, Dien Bien Phu surrendered. Thousands of soldiers entered captivity. The battle ended with silence rather than counterattack. Dien Bien Phu marked the end of French colonial war in Indochina. It demonstrated that fortified positions cannot compensate for systemic weakness. Modern war rewards depth, replacement, and endurance. The French did not lose because their soldiers lacked courage. They lost because their system could not sustain isolation under pressure. The Viet Minh won because their system could. Dien Bien Phu was not just a battle. It was the moment a colonial system reached its limit.